If you play baseball, you have to play by the rules. The pitcher can't balk. There's an infield fly rule. You got to take the player out when you pitch hit for that player. If you play football, there's no offsides. There's no roughing the passer. There's face mask. There's pass interference. If you play basketball, the 24-second clock, you got to get a shot off. But in all of those and other sports, at the end of the game, even if the game goes into overtime, the team with the most runs or the most points wins. Not necessarily true in presidential campaigns, which is why I'm belaboring this sports analogy. All we're covering now is the rules, the arcane delegate selection procedures, and Donald Trump's rather vociferous complaint that the Republican Party and Ted Cruz are stealing his delegates, that the system is rigged, that it's stacked against him. Now, I know the counter-argument here, which is, as crazy and convoluted as these rules may be, I mean, in Colorado, where Cruz shut out Trump, even though Trump had won the state, they had 600 delegates going through. Each one got to give a 10-second speech. It's insane. Nobody should be able to defend that. But all the campaigns knew in advance that these were the rules. So if you can't compete by those rules, and clearly the Cruz campaign better equipped than the Trump team to work all these states and these county conventions and all of that, then you lose out. But there's a larger reality here, which is Donald Trump is going to go to Cleveland with the largest number of delegates, but he may not get to the magic number of 1237. And what about the optics and the anger and the frustration of the millions of people who voted for Trump if this is, according to rules that can even be changed by the Convention Rules Committee itself, is seen as being snatched away from him? So one of the things that bothers me about the way this is developing is that now it's consuming all the energy. We're not talking about how Trump's going to win New York or he's ahead in Pennsylvania or Maryland. It's all about, well, which 3 delegates flipped in Arkansas, which 10 delegates now appear to be for Cruz in Indiana, all of which is fine for political and media junkies, not so much for people who might like to hear more about jobs, the economy, healthcare, terrorism. That's been totally blown off the screen by the way that this campaign has developed. And I do think that, of course, we have to cover this sort of delegate warfare and procedural battles, because in the end that may determine the nominee. But if it's so totally our focus, we may miss the forest for the trees, which is how all this is going to look if the second place finisher, or somebody who didn't even run, not Paul Ryan, but somebody who didn't even run, winds up somehow getting the Republican nomination.